transition. All right, we're live, and usually we're here joking around and stuff for the podcast, but we have Chief Ed Conley reached out to us, and there's been this disappearance of Abbie Flynn, a Gloucester resident, a woman, and there has been a lot of conjecture and a lot of people talking about different theories of where she is or what could have happened and stuff like that. And Chief Conley is here to bring us back to the beginning of what they know and what they can and what the effort has been to try to find her.
Correct.
So I'm gonna transition right over just to you right here, and you can take it away.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me here. I think this is a perfect venue to kind of address this. I like the platform that people can reach out to you and ask whatever questions they want. I'm willing to answer as many as you have time for, and the number that some things I might not be able to answer, but I think this might help get the word out a little bit more to the Cape Ann community. So let me, maybe the best thing to do would be to start with Sunday night and what happened. And I brought a map along that I can kind of go through. This map actually came from our command post that was set up on Monday morning, but it kind of outlines in broad terms what we've done in terms of searching. Mm-hmm. Jim, can you bring me the map over?
Square to the camera right there. Yeah. If you can even bring it closer, Jim. Right. Yeah. Right in close. Yep.
Jim, I'll try to be mindful of your arm muscles holding up the.
This is perfect.
Please take your time, Chief.
Okay.
Okay, so some information we received early on. So let me back up and just say, what we know is a little after 3:00, Abbie had a conversation with her son. Her son is in college. In fact, 3 children are away in college. And after that conversation, or during that conversation, she mentioned that she might go for a walk, which Abbie was known to do. She was an outdoor enthusiast. She enjoyed walking the trails around her home, down to Brace Cove and Niles Pond. She enjoyed taking photographs of wildlife. She was known to maybe, kind of hunker down and wait for wildlife to come by. And so based on that conversation and speaking to her friends and having that kind of sense that seems like this is what she had done, we decided to initiate a ground search. Now we knew because two of her friends had come over for what was going to be a Super Bowl gathering that night, and they arrived right around 6:00. She wasn't there. Between the hours of 6 and 7, they started to become more suspicious that something might be wrong, contacted us, and I would say we were able to mobilize about 20 canine units and police officers around 8 or 9 o'clock on Super Bowl night to initiate a search. We set up a command post initially that night, right adjacent to her home, and we began searching the trails that we knew she enjoyed utilizing. Mm-hmm. So all up and around the Seine fields, in that whole area, we put K9 units. Now remember, this is at night. It was dark out and it was a little cold. So we really were thinking about we were working on the theory that perhaps she either got lost or she might have had a medical event while hiking, and she would be exposed to the cold. And so we had tried to flood as many K9 units into these areas as we could. In addition to our K9 units flooding into the Seine fields up here, and then all these trails heading down into the Cove and into Niles, we also had our partners in the state police come on station with their helicopter, and that helicopter actually has very high-end thermal flare optics that allow us to see through, brush and trees.
Kind of like when the marathon bomber, how they found the marathon bomber, he was hiding inside of the boat, and the thermal imaging that you could see the heat of his body. And is that
exactly right?
Same type of thing.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
It's the same helicopter, and
okay.
It's a state police helicopter.
Yeah.
In fact, I would even guess that it's probably even better now than it was then, but I don't know for sure.
Yep.
So they were on station probably around 9:30 or so, and we flooded this area as best we could with Gloucester police officers, with canine officers that I should mention belong to an organization called NEMLEC. And so Gloucester voluntarily belongs to this organization for just this type of situation. NEMLEC is officers from all, I would say from all adjacent communities, but from communities in and around Massachusetts, in Middlesex, a lot of them from Middlesex and Essex County. And they're police officers working just like Gloucester police officers do, but when something like this happens, they bring their special skill set to the scene.
Right.
And so they arrived, and which was an incredible response. You think about Super Bowl Sunday, people have plans and they're doing things, and police officers are, no different, of course. And it was incredible the number that showed up right away. So we flooded this whole area Monday night, but of course it was dark out. And despite having all kinds of thermal imagery and flashlights and dogs, we know we really want to get back there in a day. So they called off the search around 3:30. They regrouped, refit, and we started up again around 6 or 7 o'clock that morning. By 8 o'clock in the morning, we had almost 80 police officers there from NEMLEC. We also had representatives from Coast Guard Station Gloucester who started to coordinate. I should say that first night too, on Monday, Coast Guard Station Gloucester launched the boat and was checking the shoreline from their station all up around the dog bar right into the cove area here. They were there that night too. Chief Warrant Officer John Roberts, who is the commander down at Coast Guard Station Gloucester, was absolutely instrumental in bringing those assets. And the next morning, he was there along with his staff to help us coordinate the sea search. And we had a Coast Guard UH-60 Blackhawk on station right around 5:45 in the morning, who came, and they have, of course, have the same type, if not improved types of optics and thermal imaging on their aircraft. I mean, this is what they do, is seaborne search and rescue. They were on station. We had a fixed wing aircraft, meaning like a regular airplane from the Coast Guard that also has advanced optics and search and rescue capabilities on station, who flew patterns in and around this area here. Shortly thereafter, we had 80, like I said, we had 80 police officers. We established a command post. We had a Sheriff's Department, Middlesex Sheriff's Department bus that came there that we were able to get organized. And so I should say that the NEMLEC team that shows up for this is what they do. I mean, there are officers on that team that have been involved in over 100 searches in different areas. They were just up in Chelmsford, unfortunately, not so long ago. They've been involved in so many searches. They were experts at doing this. So we established a command post, and then we gave what you see here, kind of in this writing, and I don't know how good it's showing up. We organize them into teams with dogs and personnel, and then we give them sectors to search. Again, we're operating off the theory that she went for a hike and either had a medical incident, or perhaps if she was, new information was coming in, that she enjoyed going down to the coastline for different things, that she might have fallen into the water. And so based on that, we again flooded this area now in daylight. We had another pass of the state police helicopter. We ended up having 2 other Coast Guard passes, and then the last pass of a Coast Guard helicopter, they actually were able to, utilizing weather conditions, tide, set and drift, we're able to put this all into a computer and get a big map of a search area. And that search area that the last helicopter did was actually, if you drew a line, if you think about drawing a line from the end of the dog bar all the way out about 3.5 miles, and then north up to Straitsmouth and in, they search methodically, and they have navigational software that makes sure that they're going over this like you would with a lawnmower. It's like right over it and then overlapping in each direction. And they searched methodically. And at the end of Monday, unfortunately, we had no indication of where Abbie was at all. Thanks, Jim. I'll give you a rest on the arms.
How you hold up to Jim? Oh goodness, yeah. So I think yesterday there's been, people are nervous, with the disappearance, which is natural, I guess, and things on Facebook obviously can spiral and theories be bandied about. Yesterday there was the NEMLEC team, which is, and you saw these law enforcement vehicles, Bill Ricker, Lowell.
Right.
I mean, it was a massive outpouring, and it's kind of interesting how they all come to the aid of a needy community. But I think that what is nerve wracking for some of the, especially maybe some more so for the women, that there was such an effort. And but yesterday it was actually kind of coincidental, if I'm correct, that they had already had a planned training.
Correct.
And
So they had, I mean, Joe, I got to tell you, these officers are unbelievable. I've never been involved in such a large scale NEMLEC operation. I've been involved in smaller ones, and I certainly know a lot of the, particularly the chiefs that also volunteer to come in and help manage all this. It was just to see the level of dedication and disappointment in these officers, because they're feeling a little beat down, a little disappointed. They haven't been able to turn up anything. That's unusual for them. And so yesterday the canines had training scheduled at another location. They train once or twice a month, every month. That's just what they do. And they reached out to me and said, "Hey, we have training. Well, how about we just go back rather than go train somewhere else? Can we come back up to Gloucester and go over some of these areas we've already gone over, just to make sure we didn't find anything, or we missed something."
If they're going to be training anyway, why not use
Correct.
these resources on an active search?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which of course makes perfect sense.
Absolutely.
And so they did, and they were here all day. I mean, I think I met with them around 4 o'clock, and they got here in the morning, and they got after it, and they went over those areas again, and unfortunately there was nothing else.
So to the people that are concerned about foul play, what are some of the things that you use to determine a less of a likelihood of that being the case?
So, well, think about what we know, okay? And I'll throw it up here. Like, think about what we know.
Mm-hmm.
We know somewhere between, say, 3-ish and 6-ish is the time period. We knew we had contact with Abbie at, a little after 3, and then people arrive at her house around 6, and there's nobody there. So brief window where she's alive and speaking, and we know where she is, to now we don't know where she is.
Right.
So just that brief short window makes, you think about it in terms of probabilities, that alone is a clue.
But she had been missing for days.
She had been missing for days. It hadn't been a day or so, or all day since someone had heard from her, which, when I was, before becoming a chief in Gloucester and a chief in Manchester, I was a Chelsea cop for 23 years and worked in detectives for a long time, and had the opportunity to be involved in numerous homicide investigations.
Mm-hmm.
And they're usually right away, even if we don't find a victim at scene, there are usually other clues. And what clues didn't we find at her house? No indication at all of a disturbance.
Right.
None, zero.
Right.
It looked like she was prepared for a party. There were cookies on a table. There was rising pizza dough there that they had spoken about earlier, about making pizza at the house. So even the most trained, well executed abduction still would have had to be executed within a 3-hour period, straighten everything up, in a place where there are other homes and a well-traveled road.
Evaded security cameras and stuff like that.
Correct. Evaded camera security is now, and I will share what I said to the family, to your audience, is the probability of that 0? No, it's not 0, but it's very, very low. On probability scales, and I have to make decisions about resources and where we direct the investigation based kind of on probabilities and the evidence that I have in front of me, the objective evidence I have in front of me. So then there's the other possibility. Well, did she go for a hike and potentially run into somebody or multiple people while hiking? Early on in the investigation, there was reports of a white van. There were actually 3 reports of 3 separate white vans, 2 of which we immediately were able to rule out because we knew one was a florist. We saw it on video, and the other one we spoke to people, and the person in that van was a well-known Gloucester resident who people know, that we were able to confirm through friends that was pulling into the wrong driveway, picking up a friend, kind of thing. We believe we know The other van that drove around Niles Pond, we can't confirm it. We had one report of a van acting kind of strange, kind of suspicious, driving around Niles Pond within that same time window. I think we know who it is, but even if we didn't, Niles isn't exactly out in the middle of nowhere. There are homes there, there are people there. It's Easton Point. If you drive on Easton Point, someone's looking out the window to see who's driving on Easton Point, right? And again, it's in probability world. If someone was going to drive around for the purpose of abducting another human being, first, it's very difficult to abduct an adult. Secondly, why would you go to Easton Point? That would be like one of the worst places to go. Is like 1.5 ways to get in and out of there, right? And I get lost driving around Easton Point. And again, it's not desolate. There's certainly areas of wooded areas or whatever, but you'd have to jump out of a van, say, approach somebody, tackle them, and drag them back. All this stuff would be caught on video, or there would be screams. People would hear it. Is the probability of that 0? No, but it's very, very low.
Very low.
Joey, there's some reports of difficulties with the audio.
Uh-oh.
Oh goodness. Well, it seems it's okay. I can turn it up a little bit. I think that maybe other people can chime in, but how many reports? 1 or 2?
Yeah, 1 or 2.
Okay. Well, we're recording in
So far.
two different places that we'll have the audio in any case. But I think that sometimes that's people's equipment that they're listening to them,
sometimes,
because
yeah.
we've been doing pretty good.
There is a question wondering if there's an update on what she may have been wearing or carrying with her or not.
Yeah. Thank you very much for bringing that up. There is.
Just so you know, people are saying I have fine reception. It's great. It's great. A ton of comments are coming in saying the audio is just fine. So that maybe
so we're all right.
use
I'm
it.
surprised I'm not saying talk softer. I mean, that's usually what I get. Too loud.
Okay.
I'm
All right.
the oldest of 4, so I speak loud. So let me talk about the description. So what we know is that Abbie left the home. She was by herself. No one saw what she wore going out. At the time when she left, her kids were away at school, and her husband was in Houston. So there was no way to confirm what she wore. The initial reports from her 2 friends that showed up was that there was a red jacket that she liked that they didn't see. And there was another jacket hanging up that they know that she usually wore, and a pair of boots that she typically wore. So it's really taken time for the kids to be in the home, kind of go through some things and kind of piece together what it might be that she wore when she went out. And I will say that the media's been reporting this red jacket. The initial press release that went out said may be wearing a red jacket, and somehow that got turned into wearing a red jacket. So right now, according to the kids who've been in the home, this is just their theory based on what they can't find, and she could have donated this stuff.
Right.
There's a lot of other things, but the best that we have right now is that she was may have been wearing an LL Bean puff jacket, navy blue, and LL Bean shoes or boots, blue jeans, possibly a flannel shirt. So I'll put that out on Twitter today as an update. We just got this, and again,
Did she have a dog? A lot of people are asking.
She does have a dog. The dog was at home.
The dog wasn't with
Right.
her. Okay. Another thing, so the dog was home. Okay, that's a lot of people just keep asking about the dog for some.
The dog was home.
And
the dog is safe.
Did the canines pick up any sense? Was there any feedback from the canine units at all?
No. Well, we had 2 incidents during the search on Monday where we found blood splattered on a trail, blood splattered on a tree. One case, local neighbors actually observed a hawk come down and grab an animal and saw the whole thing happen. So we were able to. The other one, we had state crime lab come out. They took a sample, they shot it back to Maynard where they have their testing capabilities, and were able to confirm that that's animal blood. Yeah. So coyotes,
There's
fisher cats.
There's a million coyotes in that area. I mean,
so those 2 things the canines did hit on, but it was totally confirmed animal blood.
Did she bring any of her camera equipment?
So we found most of her camera equipment at the house. The kids aren't aware, husband's not aware if there could have been any other camera equipment. So there's 2 cameras at the house, is there a third camera or a small little handheld she might have just grabbed to go out with? We don't know. There's no indication of that.
The question is it certain that she went for a walk?
No.
No, it isn't, right? Because there is no video surveillance of her leaving.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Correct.
Let me see. The questions are starting to come in
Good,
now. I just
good.
want to make sure. So the camera, there was camera equipment at the house. We don't know if there was other. We don't know if she had a different camera that she may have taken.
Right, and I should point out that she left her phone at the home.
Right,
She didn't
cell
go out
phone.
with her cell phone, which was not unusual for her to do. Apparently,
Not unusual.
not unusual for her to do, according to her friends and family. And we have her phone, and we're investigating and doing forensics on the phone. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty.
So this is really, I should point out as you're looking at questions, is that, so where are we now, in this investigation? We are going to continue to search. Obviously today the weather is not good for that. In terms of a land search, that's probably concluded in terms of the canines and the boots on the ground kind of land search, because of what I had said. We have saturated an area where she could be. If she's not in that area based on the theory that she went for a walk from her home, which she was known to do, that she could be anywhere, right? I mean, she could be literally anywhere, and how do you search everywhere? You can't. So we've kind of scaled that down. We will continue to consider the idea that perhaps she fell into the water. Now, I am mindful of the family, but I think, we all know this is Gloucester. There's a long history of people going into the water here, and at this point in time, that would be a recovery mission. This far out, it would have been probably a recovery mission Monday or Sunday rather, if that had happened, given water temperatures and sea conditions were 3 to 5, I think, that night.
There is precedent. The Evelyn Howe in 2013 was a woman that walked in a similar place, from what I understand, to where Abbie would walk. Kim had told us that she had regularly walked, and Kim had said to me that she wouldn't go to this place where she walked, and it happened to be the same place where Evelyn Howe drowned. So I'm not conjecture.
Right.
I mean, it's not implausible that she may have.
Correct.
Drowned.
And that would explain a few things.
Yeah.
That can explain why having, almost 24 hours of the highest end thermal imagery, optics from both the Coast Guard and the Mass State Police were unable to pick up any heat signature at all.
Right.
And again,
so how close to the time where she went that how was the heat of the thermal imaging deployed from when you knew that she was missing?
within a couple of hours.
Within a couple hours,
which still would pick up.
there would be some
There'd
heat.
still be some heat left. I mean, this just to give you some skin, and people can probably go on YouTube and look and see this. They could pick up a raccoon in the woods in the middle of the summer. So this stuff is very, very sensitive. It's not the same things that you're buying, from Ray Marine or someone putting on your boat. This stuff is high end equipment.
So the people for the people that. So I took, just for clarity, yesterday there was the Nemlik group was on High Popples Road.
Correct.
And I took some photos. I actually took them down because they were just parked on someone's piece of property, and that person happened to be getting a lot of phone calls and inquiries. So out of respect to them, after I had found out that this was part of actually the training group was parked there to go up into the pines.
Correct.
It really didn't have anything to do with any person's individual home on or construction on High Popples Road.
As you know, High Popples is a very narrow street with a lot of vegetation, so there's not a lot of places to park up there. And that just, given the construction in the front, we had some space. It was a convenient place for them to park and deploy their canines. So.
Right, I know. So, but that neighborhood in particular, where I happen to live, it was jarring for them. So this right here, doing this and hearing from the words from your mouth is, I'm sure, very reassuring to the neighborhood that there was no, there was no evidence of anything happening on High Poples Road. It was just part of the NEMLEC training, and which they had a training planned somewhere else, and they planned to bring this unit to Gloucester because why not?
Correct.
Because
100% right.
Right.
And I would just say to people, I was on Twitter that morning, and before they even deployed. Well, first of all, I want to tell you that in terms of the family, because when I wake up in the morning and I go to bed at night, that's what I'm thinking about.
Right.
Is they don't have any answers, which I think all of us can, identify,
Right.
empathize with that. I mean, they have no answers, and we had assigned Detective Tommy Quinn to be our liaison to the family. So before anything happens, or I share anything or anything, they know first. They know before anybody what's going to happen. So we had told them this is what we're doing, and the thing. I went on Twitter once I knew they knew, and I put it out. Now I realize not everybody may be on Twitter,
Right.
but it hits the mayor's Twitter, and it hits her Facebook, and it hits our website. So I'm very mindful of the idea that people would see this and it could increase, speculation.
Right.
So I would just, before someone runs to their keyboard or telephone, they should check our website. They should check the mayor's Facebook if they're on Facebook,
Right.
or her Twitter, my Twitter if they're on Twitter. There's ways to get that information, but I really try to be as transparent with what we are doing, as long as that doesn't violate the family's privacy or it doesn't violate our investigative process.
So Lisa Frontero Tisley, I'm just seeing the last comment here. Any reason to think someone came into her house while she was getting ready for the Super Bowl? You already answered that there was no disturbance at all.
There's no sign of a break. Now maybe she had her doors unlocked. There's no sign of break, no disturbance. There's nothing been reported missing from the home other than Abbie herself.
I'm just going to go back to it because
Many people are grateful for your time this morning.
yes, there's probably 100 comments of people thanking you for being here.
No, this is a great. I knew this was a great venue to do it.
Marianne Albert Boucher asks, did she speak with others beside her son that afternoon?
No.
Now the cell phone, you haven't got the report back from any records from the cell phone yet.
We are looking at it. We have taken a cell phone to our partners over at the district attorney's office and the state police, who have specialized computer equipment to pull that off. I don't want to get into what we're looking at on the cell phone. There's some privacy issue there, but we have that information, and perhaps it will shed some light on one of her kids knew her password, so we didn't fall into that sort of brick wall.
Right.
We also have her laptop computer, which we're going to do a forensic download. So this is kind of where I want to, maybe we can talk a little bit about. I know you're running out of time.
No, we're not.
Actually, it's a podcast. You don't run out of time.
We're not running out of time.
Okay.
No.
I thought so.
Yeah.
So where we're at now is, there's just because there aren't boots on the ground and people aren't seeing helicopters and that sort of thing, doesn't mean that the search isn't continuing. It's just continuing behind the scenes, like at the Detective Bureau with, the Gloucester detectives re-interviewing people, going out. We identified that first morning about 20 external cameras. Our detectives interviewed every homeowner who had a camera and viewed video within that time frame. Also, all her neighbors were absolutely excellent, in supporting us. They invited us into their home. They consented for us to search their basements,
That's great.
just to check the block that and this is how I think about it. It's like we're turning every stone over. If there is a lead, we ramp up and we go after the lead.
You could check it off.
We check it off.
Right.
Everything, every possibility. We're going to turn those stones, and that's what the detectives are doing now. So, like to your audience, I would say if you have an external camera, you live up in that area, High Poples, in and around Farrington. What's it keep coming? Farrington, down through Eastern Point, and we haven't spoken to you yet. I encourage you to look at the video. If there's anything you see between that period of time, say, even if you say 2:30 to 6:30 on Super Bowl Sunday, or you don't know how to use that equipment and you want us to come by, just call us. We'll send a detective by, and we review that.
Very helpful.
I mean, we have received calls and we have done that, and I think I'd be surprised, but there may be people away on vacation or whatever
Absolutely,
they're not here.
So Ring doorbells.
Correct.
And these a lot of these things have this type of capability that they record to the cloud or whatever.
Right.
If it's only on a certain amount of time, time may be of the essence if it only keeps the last 4 days or something. If you can review it, and take a few moments of your time. Sunday between what time and what time?
So let's just say Super Bowl Sunday between the hours of, even if you just go like say 2:30 to 6:30.
Okay.
I think that gives enough overlap between the time period that we have to account for the fact that maybe the time's not 100% accurate.
Right.
But just generally, I would say that would be a good time to search.
Gia Kennedy's question: have you ruled out her falling into the water? No, no, you haven't.
No, I mean, again, this is the investigation is about, kind of honing in on a couple of different theories. So we have pretty much exhausted the theory of she's off on a trail, and she had a medical incident or fell or something of that nature, got lost. I should also say, in addition to all the canines, we probably had maybe 15 civilian and police drones up in that area searching. So we've I can't say we've ruled it out, but right now there's no evidence that that's what happened.
There are a lot of community people that are asking, what can we do to help? Is there any place to volunteer? And how would you respond to that?
So there's no place to volunteer because we have scaled down the physical search on land.
Mm-hmm.
Again, going back, there's just no evidence at all. We haven't found any clothing. We haven't found any evidence at all that she is on
And
on
there's
land.
been a tremendous amount of resources that in your many years would have you feel very confident that she's not on the land in that space.
Yeah, I mean, Chief John Fisher, who's the control chief for NEMLEC, who was there kind of organizing things for us, said that in his experience, this is one of the largest, immediate, given the scale of the search, given the time period in the landmass, relatively the largest search outpouring that he's ever been involved in.
Wow.
So I think, we can almost rule out Murphy's law is a real thing. I like to say that. So there could be some quirky thing about this that we're missing, but I think very very comfortable saying that we're pretty much ruling out the land search. But I encourage people to use Gloucester's beautiful trails and networks, and I know people just be vigilant. That's the best thing is enjoy the trails, enjoy those areas. There's no indication that they're unsafe. The only safety concern I would have is given weather. I always encourage people to hike together. If you go out for a hike, I always encourage people to tell somebody, bring their phone, tell somebody where they're going. And I wouldn't want anybody else to get lost and become another type of rescue mission for us and take us away from this. And certainly I would recommend people stay away from the coastline this time of year.
Yeah, don't go out on the rocks. Like every time there's a storm, and I live close to the back shore, and we see it almost every storm. You have these thrill seekers that'll go out, and what they don't, and especially people that aren't from around here, they don't realize how powerful the ocean is, and they don't understand how they can see waves hitting at a certain point, 100 or 1,000 waves in a row. There could be a rogue wave that goes 10 feet past them, and there's an amount of water that will lift you off your feet, carry you into the water, and you're done.
Powerless.
Yeah, and especially with a little bit of a storm surge, like it's very dangerous.
Well, Gloucester faces the ocean. When I was in Chelsea, we had people end up in the harbor for different things, but the harbor's contained. Here when you're on the ocean, it's a different, as you know, better. People of Gloucester know better than I. People of Cape Ann better than I do. It's a different thing.
I just want to reiterate because one of certain person asked again. This question keeps coming up. Was it normal for her to leave without her cell phone?
Yes.
This keeps coming up, and
According to friends and family, it was not unusual. I should say it was. I can't say the word normal. That implies more than 50%,
Right.
but I would say it was unusual, not unusual for her to leave the house without her cell phone.
Right. Okay. I think I just want to go through here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Do you need the map again?
No. Give your arms a rest.
I don't know if they can
Oh
see
God,
it.
some people. A lot of kudos to all the law enforcement.
Yeah, the other partner in this I haven't mentioned is TJ, the harbor master. He went out there in really tough conditions, and the one thing the Coast Guard, they launched their 47s. on Monday, and we're out there, and the seas were 3 to 5 again on Monday. Wind was blowing, and they can't get in close to shore. And TJ got on along with a couple of my officers, and of course Chad got out there, got close to shore, and were able to kind of get in, especially up and around when you get up past around Thatcher's, on the inside of Thatcher's, they were able to get close in, and that was tough. That was tough boating.
Yeah.
He says 14 years in the search, and I just lost it, but he's very complimentary. TJ, this is about the search. There it is. 14 years in the search and rescue business, and I've never seen such a well coordinated and executed rescue effort. Everyone involved did an excellent job.
That's TJ?
So, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for chiming in,
Thank you,
TJ.
TJ.
So people, I'd like to. So a lot of people keep chiming in, saying it's so strange that she left with dough rising, and was the oven on or not?
No, the oven was.
The oven was not on. Okay, we can eliminate
Everybody
that.
can relax on
So
that
so
point,
people
yeah.
so for people to think it's so strange, where she lived is so close to the most beautiful, probably the most beautiful open vistas in Gloucester on Eastern Point. So to me, it really isn't strange or unfathomable that she would go out for a walk, have some cookies that were baked and the dough rising, and just go out for an afternoon walk. Absolutely not so strange to me.
Right. I mean, if you think about it, that's exactly what would happen. If you're planning, if you're planning a party or get the people coming over, and you're gonna make pizzas, and you're gonna have some food, and they're gonna bring some things. Like, she did all the prep.
Right.
Did the prep, and then she was done, and she was like, "You know what? I'm done. They're not coming for another 3 hours.
A little fresh air.
Good time for a walk." I mean, to me, that's why that seems the most likely scenario.
Right.
Good. These people. Yeah, the oven was not on, everybody.
Yeah.
So just keeps asking that. All right, let's see.
So
Yeah.
basically, where we stand is in the water search. What is going to go further from that?
So Gloucester Fire has also been a great partner of ours, and right from the get-go and all this, they launched the small boat Niles, to kind of take a look around. We had state troopers up here from the State Police Dive Team yesterday, who just did a reconnaissance of that area, just to get a sense if it's worth diving. You ask 6 people what the depth of Niles is, you'll get 6 different answers,
Yeah.
right? From
Right.
the ice fishermen to people who have snuck in there and gone for a swim. So they were up looking at that. Given the weather windows, we may see a dive team come up next week to kind of look around in those areas. And I don't need to tell anybody here how difficult braces can be. So if the weather conditions are good, we can launch some divers in and around there. We'll do that. I will definitely, if we know that they're coming, I'll definitely put that out over Twitter and hit the mayor's Twitter and Facebook. So I encourage, again, people to see that.
Can
take
you
a peek.
address any how you have ruled out or not ruled out any correlation to the missing Rockport woman from
So
a couple years ago?
The missing Rockport woman is no longer missing. I don't know if that was
Okay, so
reported.
people don't.
Yeah,
didn't
her
know.
remains were found on Chatham Beach. There was a DNA match on Chatham Beach. I can't comment into the specifics of that case because I really don't know. But some of her remains were found, and the genetic DNA testing confirmed that was her.
Okay. I just want to make sure if there's any.
And I should say, from what I know from and I don't want to speak for the Rockport Police Department, but what I understand is they have a good sense of what happened there, and foul play wasn't involved.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Bring it. Is there any idea of bringing a psychic in?
So, if a Swami came in and I thought that there was a good chance that they, objective evidence showed that Swamis were really good at picking this stuff out, I would listen to a Swami. We did have 2 psychics show up at the command post that day with who had some visions about something nearby. It wasn't a big ask for us to go walk with them and check out those areas, and nothing was found consistent with what they saw. I'll follow up any tip. I want to put something that's never been proven to work. I want to put that at the top of the list. But if somebody has information and they call it a vision. If we can look at it, we'll take a look. No stone left unturned is the motto here.
Okay, a lot of the questions a lot of these questions have been answered over. I guess one more that I will just go back and answer again is she was not seen on any video surveillance between the time that she had spoken with someone on the phone and the time that the people had come to for the party, the guests for the party. Between the time that we know that she was missing, there was no video evidence of her being on a camera, seen on a camera.
Correct. There was one camera of a female walking. Detectives took a look at that, and it's so grainy, it's difficult to say. They didn't think it matched her description, but it was also within the area that we were already looking. So whether it was her or not, we saturated that area, but there was really no indication that it was her.
All right. The last rumor okay, I'm gonna just read this. Okay. This person says, and you can dispel this rumor or not, a rumor that a dog can only pick up a scent to the end of a driveway. So is it possible that she could have gotten into a car and gone someplace?
Yeah, that's I thought very probable, because that again implies there's another person involved in this, and that person knows people in this conversation, and I mean there's no evidence of that. She didn't mention it. It's not. I throw that into the probability of that isn't zero, but what do you do with that? Okay, let's just to say, well, that's a possibility.
It's wide open, yeah.
But where do we go with that? That she got in a car and drove off. There's really nowhere else to go with that.
And was her door unlocked, and was that a normal thing?
I don't want to comment on the specific of that right now.
All right. I think if anybody I think every question I haven't seen them all because I've been trying to pay attention on this side, but most of the questions that we see coming up, this will be recorded and posted on top of the blog, so you can start from the beginning, and just about the reoccurring questions that we have heard have been answered. I really appreciate you coming in here. I know the community really appreciate you coming in here, and I think you have allayed a lot of the fears, especially in regards to yesterday, where the huge presence and that was a training that was scheduled to be somewhere else, but given the circumstances of this of a missing person here, they decided to use the resources because why wouldn't you? If you're going to have a training in Worcester, why not bring all those people to Gloucester while you have an active missing person?
Yeah, absolutely true. And I just want to say, I want to be very clear, and for everybody listening, and certainly whoever listens later on, that I err on the side of transparency. Mm-hmm. If I had information that led me to believe that someone's out there and they're kidnapping or abducting, or the public was in danger at all, there would be reverse 911s going out. We would be posting it. We would be, this isn't about let's keep fear down. I would err on the side of let the public know and have them make their own decisions about their personal safety. There just isn't any information. There is no indication that is the case. And that's not just about this. That's about anything that happens while I'm the chief of police in Gloucester. If I'm not under some federal, mandate not to mention something, I'm putting it out there,
right? And
we'll deal with that as it comes in. So people should know that. I mean,
I think that's huge, and knowing that that's your MO. That should make people feel.
And it's
good.
It's the mayor's MO too.
Yeah.
She definitely would rather have the public know things and have that discussion based on facts than for us to keep things secret. Absolutely.
Right. Well, thank you so much for coming in, and tell people what the best way to relay any information to you. Also, if anybody has in the East Gloucester area has video surveillance from 3 o'clock to 6:30 p.m.
Yeah, let's say 2:30 to 6:30.
2:30 to 6:30 p.m. Super Bowl Sunday. If you could review it, and if you can't figure out how to review it, if you could call the police department, they'll send a detective out to help review it with you. anything? And what's the best way for people to reach?
Just give us a call at the 1212 line, the 978-283-1212. If it's an emergency, or if you're in the woods, it's best to call 911 because we can actually GPS you and figure out exactly where you are. If you've come across something in the woods, clothing or something like that that matches the description, give us a call. Give us a call 911, and we can actually get a GPS pin on you.
Great. Thank you so much. We appreciate
So
it.
I just hopefully do this again. I like this Ask Me Anything kind of session. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll do it again in when things aren't. There's
And-
really nothing to talk about.
We have an open door policy. You are welcome here anytime. You reach out to me. We will make it happen as long as I'm in town. All
Great.
right? Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joe.
All right.